Gratis and Victoria Wrestling all the time, and what a difference 10 years makes. They made it possible for divas like Sasha Banks to come in and do what they do in WWE, and with how talented Sasha Banks is, I think it's a miscarriage of justice, in the words of Gorilla Monsoon or any popular commentator that we've heard over the years, when I say that, because Sasha Banks is really somebody who deserves better than what she's getting in WWE. And until we see something better for Sasha Banks, I think more and more critics are going to choose to come down on WWE very negatively for pushing the same 3 or 4 divas all the time, either as champions or number one contenders. And who really wants to see the same 4 or 5 contenders or 4 or 5 champions carrying the show all the time? As much as Bonnie appreciated AJ Lee being champion for as long as what she was, a total of 295 days, the thing was, we saw the same kind of matches all the time with AJ. AJ always had the same 3 or 4 challengers, the same kind of match predicaments where she had to face 3 or 4 divas to a time, and it was always the same end result of AJ always retaining the title a total of 295 days before she dropped the championship to then Nikki Bella, who was in line for a push, who went on to hold the title the longest day longer, I think, than what AJ had held it in the first longest reign ever in the history of the Divas Championship, which was AJ Lee. Of course, before that, it was Maurice of 217 days, and AJ was the first one to pass that record with a total of 295 days in total in the days that she was champion during her first ever reign. She went on to hold it an additional 2 times, which are 2 times that a lot of people forget about. But I think that Sasha Banks is someone who can easily hold the Divas Championship for 2 or 3 or 4 reigns if ever given the chance. It's just WWE have an incredible amount of a lack of faith in Sasha Banks, and they believe that more promise can come from someone like Charlotte and Paige at this point, and I really don't know why that is. The only logical explanation that I can draw for you is the fact they're trying to wait to get more confidence behind someone like Sasha Banks before they do push her as the women's champion. And I wonder, what someone like Dusty Rhodes would think, who spent a lot of time alongside Sasha Banks when Sasha was his assistant as the GM of NXT. I wonder what he would think if he were still alive. Would he be pushing Sasha Banks for a push in WWE to being endorsed by people like Vince McMahon and Triple H? He obviously would, because I think he knew in his eyes and in his heart that Sasha Banks was someone special and was going to bring something special to the Divas division, and he obviously believed it, although we didn't hear him say it enough on NXT. I know in his soul he knew that Sasha Banks had the talent to get somewhere in the wrestling business, and I think that's really what's driving Sasha Banks to still be with WWE and doing what she's doing, no matter if she's getting pushed or not, or if she's coming in second to someone like Becky Lynch or Paige, who's obviously posing a threat right now to Charlotte's championship. And it's not to say that Sasha Banks will not be posing a threat to Charlotte or somebody else's championship reign in the very near future. What we just have to do is get behind the wheel of endorsement for someone like Sasha Banks and just hold our breath. And that's really what we're doing right now as wrestling fans, because if we hold our breath, we're just waiting for someone like Sasha Banks to come up through the ranks and really break through. And I think that in due time, in a couple of weeks' time, we're going to see Sasha Banks really change the direction of her career. And what it comes down to is how much Sasha Banks really wants it and how much Sasha Banks wants to change the direction of her career. And in time, we're going to see her do that. We're going to see her pull a 180 or a 200-degree push with her career. And I think that she's really going to prove to be someone who's going to be a driving force behind this Divas Revolution. Obviously, right now on top of the list of favorites in the Divas Revolution for Triple H and Stephanie, it's obviously Charlotte, because of Triple H's friendship with Ric Flair. Over the years, obviously, he's rewarding the Flair family for how good of a buddy he's been to Triple H for years. Obviously, that's their favorite. Coming in second to that is Paige, because of the international feel that Paige brings to the Divas division. And obviously, Becky Lynch is the third one in that list, being another diva who brings a lot of international flavor to the division. Even though Charlotte is an American diva from North Carolina, the thing is, I think that she really has a lot of promise. She has a lot of athletic ability, and she has a lot of endurance and stamina that can really get her to distance in WWE. It can allow for a lot of things for Charlotte, and all we have to do as wrestling fans are continuously find a new way, an innovative way of supporting Charlotte, no matter if we get behind her with Chance of Wu, obviously referencing her father's legacy as the Nature Boy Ric Flair, people like Nature Boy Buddy Rose. I mean, it's just amazing how many people are actually getting behind Charlotte, and more people are behind Charlotte now than what were behind Charlotte 4 or 5 months ago, because we didn't really know if she was going to build her character around her father. It was almost like WWE, when she was spending time down in NXT trying to develop her skills, were trying to create something in the way of a character for Charlotte that separated her from her father, probably bringing her in, wanting her to be just as good as what her father was. And then once they realized that fans were getting behind her as support for her father, Ric Flair, and chanting "woo," they just ran with the idea of Charlotte carrying on her family's legacy, the legacies of both her father and her brother. Although Paige may have had some pointed views on David Flair, at least he did get a chance to wrestle for World Championship Wrestling, and he got a couple of spots in there during Ric Flair and Undertaker's feud in the early thousands, and several other spots in WWE. And it's a shame WWE didn't run with David Flair's character as they did in WCW. Really appreciated what they did with Flair turning on his father, of course, joining the NWO back in the day. That was a really great storyline in WCW, just as many of David Flair's storylines were in WCW and what they were created off of. It was amazing seeing that. It was beyond me why WWE didn't really run with David Flair's character. Maybe there was some kind of contractual dispute. I really don't know the answer for that. But at least they're making the most out of someone like Charlotte, and hopefully they're going to be doing the same thing with Sasha Banks over the next couple of weeks. There isn't really much that you can say about someone like a Sasha Banks. Only thing that you can do at this point is really just recognize the talent that she has, because nobody knows creatively, from a creative standpoint, where she's going, if and when she'll get a chance to be Divas Champion, even if she'll be a contender for that championship. But I want to go on record and say that obviously we will see the day when Sasha Banks really gets the chance to step up her game in WWE, and I think we're going to see a lot happen for this young lady, and I think we're going to see probably 2 or 3 reigns as Divas Champion. And let me say this, if the Women's Championship was still in contention for WWE Divas, Sasha Banks would be one of those candidates to hold that Women's Championship. Earlier on in the show, I threw the comparison around between herself and Trish Stratus. And I think she's one of the few divas you can make an exception for and say she would have survived in a program with someone like Trish Stratus or Victoria back when we had some of the toughest women representing that division when they were trying to compete head-on with Teenage Knockouts division. And I think right now in 2015, with the incredible amount of divas you have on the Divas Revolution roster representing this new fad, in the Divas division, I think now is one of the few times that you can make an exception that WWE are able to compete with Teenage Knockouts division. Let's introduce some Divas Tag Team Championships or a second or a third championship that can be competed for within that division if it's supposed to be as good as what the men's divisions are in WWE, and let's see what they can do, and let's see if they can become a direct competitor and continue to be a direct competitor with Teenage Knockouts division in the years to come, because I think now we can only head in a more promising direction for the Divas division, because really there's no turning back when you talk about what the Divas division used to be and what it has evolved into, what it's metamorphosized into. This metamorphical period is really critical for the Divas division, because now it's a proving ground, if you would, for that division, because it's going to really tell us if the Divas division is going to be made or going to be broken off of what's happened with this Divas Revolution. How can you rebound off the announcement of Divas Revolution by people like Stephanie and Triple H and how it was supposed to have been so promising? You really can't. There's no turning back with this sort of thing. So if there ever was a time to start pushing people like Sasha Banks, Becky Lynch, Charlotte, that time is now. And no matter who is champion right now, they have a lot of pressure on their shoulders, and that's why I'm wondering if Charlotte was really the best decision you could have had to be Divas Champion right now, because there's obviously a lot of pressure on her shoulders holding that championship, feuding with the likes of Paige and Becky Lynch, no matter who she's in a program with, because she's never really had there's millions of fans exposure, and there's been a big response for Charlotte obviously being Divas Champion right now, which indicates to me it's going to be prolonged and it's not going to be ending anytime soon. They're waiting for the right individual to come along, and that right individual could obviously be someone like Charlotte or someone like Sasha Banks, rather, because Sasha Banks has that support, and I think she has more support. I think I can get away with saying she has more support right now than someone of a Charlotte or a Becky Lynch. So because she has more support than anybody, even the champion, the question I have is, why isn't she being pushed for that Divas Championship? Because I think what can be derived from all this are incredibly high ratings, a lot of great reviews from columnists, which is what the Divas Revolution really needs at this point, more so than seeing its fair share of criticism, because without that criticism, only great things can happen for a division that really hasn't had anything going for it for the last number of years. The last time the Divas division looked as promising as this had to have been 2003, 2004, when you had people like Mickie James and Trish Stratus having great matches representing that division, with Mickie James as either champion or challenger, or Trish Stratus either as champion or challenger. I think their feud really put the Divas division on a pedestal and really paved the way, the road of success, for people like Sasha Banks and Bayley and Charlotte to come in and do what they do. And obviously AJ, of course, who was the longest reigning Divas champion since the inception of the title, beating out Maurice's record of 217 days of a total of 295. And then from on, we had people like Nikki Bella break the record and hold the record currently right now for being the longest reigning Divas champion before having been defeated by Charlotte. So I think really there's no turning back, and I think the conclusion that can be drawn is there's going to be a lot of promising years for someone like Sasha Banks, because easily you can get 10 years out of her. And to answer your question, yes, I'm a huge fan of Sasha Banks, and that's why I've been devoting so much time on my video blogs to talking about her, and I just thought I would reference these We Want Sasha chants, because you really can't go without recognizing these chants because they're obvious. The WWE fans are making it very obvious and very clear who they want to see pushed, who they want to see on top. It's just WWE aren't listening at this point in time. They're obviously hearing these chants because they're responding to these chants either by divas mocking Sasha Banks or having Sasha Banks herself getting involved in the outside of the ring, involved with matches involving Team Bad and whoever their adversaries are at the point in time. Obviously, they're finding creative ways of teasing the possibility of Sasha Banks challenging for the championship against Charlotte and teasing the idea of Sasha Banks being champion. But it's a matter of time, and it's a matter of, if WWE have enough faith in giving Sasha Banks that Divas Championship and seeing if she can really run with it. It doesn't come down to if you have enough faith or not. What it comes down to is if you're actually going to go through with giving the championship to someone like Sasha Banks, because we're not going to know if Sasha Banks can be as good of a Divas champion as what people believe unless she's given that chance to hold that title, whether it be a month, 2 months, and then she has the strap taken off of her. Only time will tell, because it's the most precious commodity when it comes to something like wrestling, but I really think you can get behind the wheel of endorsement and get away with doing it for someone like Sasha Banks, and that's why I've chosen to do that in recent weeks. You can give me your opinion and thoughts on Sasha Banks and her push